Hi everyone, welcome to my garden and happy spring. This is the time of year that we gardeners dream about. The weather is getting warmer and it's finally time to get our hands dirty in the soil. Today I'm going to share with you 5 must-plant veggies for April. Now, I know it's not quite April yet, however, the early bird gets the worm. Same applies for gardening. The early gardener grows more veggies. Let's jump in. Veggie number 1 to plant in April is summer squash. One of my personal favorites. I like to call it a power producer because it grows fast. You can plant it in the ground, you can start from seed indoors, and you're going to be eating your squash in about 60 days. Definitely a win-win. Now, would you believe these little seedlings I started about 5 days ago under grow lights? They're already popping. But in southern climates, like I live in here in Southern California, I can plant them in the ground or in containers right now, which is really nice. And when you're planting squash in your container, you want at least a 10 or a 20-gallon container. So I'm going to plant some of the scalloped squash here in my 20-gallon smart pot today. And I like scalloped squash because it's a little bit of a smaller variety, it can spill over the edge and really be super beautiful. This is the scalloped squash mixed blend from my squash seed collection. And I'm just going to plant 3 seeds here in the 20-gallon. It's going to share a little container here with some peppers and some other greens that are growing here. And all you need to do is just poke a seed about a ½ an inch into the soil. And the general rule of thumb is you want to plant your seeds half the depth of the diameter of the seed. So this seed's about a ¼ inch or so. We're actually going to plant it maybe about an 1/8 of an inch deep. Just poke it into the soil. And with 3 seeds planted, I have insurance that at least one will germinate, but I'm sure all 3 will probably germinate. And then as the seedlings grow and get about 3 to 4 inches tall, I'll thin them out and keep the strongest seedling in the container so our container doesn't get too crowded. So just cover it up there, give it a nice little drink of water. And you southern gardeners in frost-free zones, you can plant your squash seeds directly in your containers or garden beds right now, and you'll be eating your squash in about 60 days. Now, you northern gardeners who are still expecting frost in your area, don't think I forgot about you. You can still plant squash seeds in April. And what you want to do is start them from seed indoors. So today we're going to start some round zucchini squash from my spring garden seed collection. I love this variety. It's actually shaped like a baseball once it's ready to harvest. So tender, so delicious, and amazing on the grill. So since squash grows super fast, I like to plant it from seed in these little cow pots. They're about 3 inches tall, they're biodegradable, and your squash seeds can stand here just a little bit longer before they're ready to go outside. You can also do them in the 6-packs too, but the cow pots work really well. So I just poked a hole in here with a pencil. I'm going to drop 3 seeds in, cover it with soil, pop it under grow lights. In about 4 weeks, you're going to have a beautiful seedling to put into the garden after your last frost date. The spring garden seed collection has a little bit of everything in there, about 15 varieties for you to get started with your April veggies. And all my seed collections are on sale for 50% off with the code Happy Spring until the end of March. Vegetable number 2 you must plant in April is another power producer. Grows like crazy and produces a ton of veggies so you can save a lot of money at the grocery store. And that is cucumbers. Now these were planted again just 5 days ago. Look at how fast they've grown. They were started from seed indoors. You southern gardeners in frost-free zones, plant them outside. Now, little trick what I like to do. They need to be planted on the trellis. And since I still have my peas growing here, which will probably be done in about a month, I'm actually going to start some Boston pickling cucumbers from seed at the base of my trellis here. By the time the peas are done, the cucumbers will be growing and be ready to take their place. Planting one of my favorite varieties here, and that is Boston pickling. So prolific, really lives up to the power producer reputation. And you can see cucumber seeds are just a little bit smaller than squash seeds, but you really plant them in exactly the same way. About a ¼ inch deep. I'm going to put 3 or 4 seeds here at the base of the trellis, and they are going to bust through the soil probably in about 3 to 5 days. It's going to be in the 60s and 70s this week, and it is going to be so much fun to see them germinate. I know you love that thrill too, so make sure that you comment below what your favorite part of planting seeds is. I'm going to guess it's seeing them germinate for the very first time. So you can plant them in containers, in raised beds if frost is past. If you're still dealing with frost in your area, you want to plant them in Again, a little cow pot is perfect, or the 6-packs, and you do it pretty much exactly the same way. Pop 3 seeds in each cow pot or each seed cell, cover with soil, keep moist while they're germinating, pop them under grow lights, and you're gonna have yourself a little squash seedling, a little bigger than this, to plant outside in about 4 weeks or after your last frost date. Vegetable number 3 you've gotta plant in April are beans. Another power producer, and boy, do they live up to their name, producing you a ton of food, saving you lots of money at the grocery store. Now, the cool thing about beans is there's 2 different kinds. Bush beans, which you can grow in a container or a raised bed, and pole or runner beans, which you want to grow on a trellis. Now, here I have my favorite scarlet runner beans growing on this archway, which makes a really pretty entrance into the hill garden here. The cool thing about these runner beans is you can cut them off at the base and they regrow back in frost-free zones. These have actually been growing since last summer, believe it or not. So they're just starting to climb up the trellis. But here we have some beans from last year that have dried up and just kind of fell off here. And I'm just gonna pop them right into the ground. Look at these beautiful bean seeds. And if you don't have saved seeds from last year, these are in my bean seed collection, but they're so easy to plant. Just gonna use my pencil trick here to poke a couple holes in the soil to plant a few more beans. And because these are such large seeds, I'm gonna plant them about 1 inch or so deep. And by the way, the hummingbirds love the scarlet runner beans. They love the red flowers. It brings them in like crazy to our garden here. And the beans are one of my favorite. They're super tasty and so delicious. They're definitely a must-try bean if you have the space for them. If you don't have the space for runner beans or pole beans, no problem. Grab yourself some bush beans and plant them in a container. These are the Royal Burgundy bush beans, a beautiful purple bean, planted about 5 days ago, and they germinate so fast. Look how big they already are, about 2 to 3 inches tall. So I'm gonna pop some here in my blue CaliKim 5-gallon smart pots. These are the Jackson bush beans from my spring garden seed collection. If you have kids, grow beans with them. They're gonna absolutely love the immediate satisfaction, almost, of seeing them grow. So I'm gonna poke about 5 holes here in my 5-gallon and just quickly drop in some seeds. This is a very prolific variety, drought tolerant and heat tolerant, loves the warm weather, and it's definitely something you've got to plant in April. You're gonna be harvesting these in about 60 days. And if you don't plant them now, you are gonna be sorry. So the early gardener definitely gets the worm on these. You northern gardeners who are still under snow, either plant them in your 6-packs here, just like I did, under grow lights, or use the little cow pots, because they grow fast and they're gonna need a little bit of space to spread their wings. If you're about 4 weeks from putting them outside, pop them in here, so easy. You guys are getting the hang of this now. Poke them down into the soil, keep them moist while they're germinating and growing. About 4 weeks, or after your last frost date, pop them outside for some delicious beans in about 60 days. Vegetable number 4 that you really must plant in April are greens. One of my very favorite things about growing my own vegetable garden is a garden fresh salad. Greens of different colors, varieties, and textures. Now, lettuce is the most typical green that most people grow. It's a cool weather vegetable. It loves temperatures under 75 degrees. Look at these amazing varieties I have right here. And you northern gardeners, we're gonna start with you first this time. Now's the time for those cool weather greens. Now, if your soil has thawed a little bit and you can kind of work it with your hands, you can plant your lettuce and have beautiful lettuce like this in about 6 weeks. So what I'm gonna plant on the edge of my garden bed here is the price head lettuce from my lettuce seed collection. So all you need to do is just put a little sprinkle in your hands and just take a little pinch between your thumb and forefinger and lightly sprinkle it in your garden bed or your container. And you don't even need to cover lettuce because it does like light to germinate. If you do cover it very lightly. And sometimes I will cover it lightly to protect it from the birds. It's all you have to do, and it's nice to look for those little empty spaces in your garden where you might be able to plant a little extra and even plant new seeds every couple of weeks so you always have a continual supply. You can also start your lettuce seeds indoors. So if your garden is still under snow, just grab yourself a 6-pack, no problem, and do it in pretty much the same way. A few little sprinkles on the top of the soil here, My 6-pack is filled with moistened seed starting mix. Just kind of lightly tamp it down there. Pop it under your grow lights, keep it moist. Don't forget your tags, remember what variety you're growing, and you are all set. Something very important to know about lettuce. As the temperatures rise and get over 75 or 80 degrees, your lettuce will start to bolt. So you southern gardeners need to be aware of this and plant yourself some heat-tolerant greens right now. But let me just show you what bolting looks like. The lettuce will shoot up a taller, thick stalk like this, start to develop flowers on the top. Once that happens, it changes the flavor of the lettuce and makes it bitter. You can see what's happening here with this arugula. This tall, thick stalk, it's got flowers on it, and I'll save this for the bees because they really love to buzz around the flowers. Luckily, there's all kinds of heat-tolerant grains that you can grow once the temperatures shoot over 80. A couple of my favorites are this red Russian kale. This is an absolutely gorgeous variety. Has beautiful red kind of pinkish stems here. Super tender. We love to throw them in smoothies. It's very easy to grow right from seed, either directly in your garden beds or you can start from seed indoors. And another one is chard. Now, a couple beautiful varieties of chard here that I love. First of all, this is called Bright Lights Swiss chard. Would you look at these stems? They are just beautiful. You can actually chop the stems up and use them like you would celery in stir fries, or use the leaves for sandwich wraps, or saute in scrambled eggs, or of course just eat in your beautiful garden fresh salads. And right here we've got a beautiful red chard with gorgeous bright red stalks. And what I'm going to do is just pop some right here in my garden bed. And I've got some a heat-tolerant green seed collection with 5 or 6 different varieties of heat-tolerant greens. And you southern gardeners, after your last frost date, pop them in. Actually, it's super cold tolerant, so even you northern gardeners, if you get them established sometimes in the late fall, they'll last you all winter. But here in Southern California, often my kale and chard plants will last me for several years. So you just sprinkle them in garden bed here. This is the kale. Cover it with a tiny bit of soil. Water it in. And I've got a brand new crop of kale started here in my little shorty smart pot. Now let me just show you the chard seeds here. They're actually like little seed pods, and inside these little seed pods are several different seeds. So sometimes you get a couple of plants popping up from 1 or 2 seed pods, which of course technically makes them another power producer too. They kind of look like beet seeds. So you just grab a seed, pop it in your garden bed, your container. These are all very container friendly. Cover it with a little bit of soil, give it a nice little drink, and you are good to go with your kale and your chard, your heat-tolerant greens. And the good thing about all these veggies is not only can you plant them outside, but you can also plant them in your little 6-packs. Plant a couple of chard seeds in here, poking them down into the soil. And then this is the lacinato kale, which is also called dinosaur kale. It's a beautiful variety, and the leaves kind of do look like dinosaur skin. It's kind of crazy, but I know you're gonna love the variety that they add to your garden. About 4 weeks, you're gonna have transplants to pop outside for your greens. The 5th crop that you must grow in April are herbs. No better way to punch up the flavor of your garden fresh vegetables than with your own fresh herbs. Easy to grow for beginners. Many of them are drought tolerant. There's your cool weather herbs like parsley, cilantro, and dill and chives. For your northern gardeners and you southern gardeners, you've got to get your warm weather herbs planted right now, like thyme, oregano, and my all-time favorite, basil. One thing I love about herbs is they're super easy to grow and they're so versatile. You can grow them in small containers on your patio railing, larger containers if you want to grow more herbs, or you can grow them from raised beds. You can start them from seed indoors, or you southern gardeners can start them from seed directly in your containers or your raised beds. If this is your very first year growing your own vegetables, I want to say congratulations. You're in the right place, and I know you're going to love the taste of your own homegrown food. And just like what happened to me, I know you're going to get hooked. So what I want you to do this week is get out in your garden and plant these must-grow vegetables, because remember what I said? The early gardener grows more food. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time in the garden.